This is an inaugural session of this entire program. Dr. Anitha Jose, the principal of Assumption College Autonomous Changanassery, will preside over the session. Mr. Jinto Michael, the director of Low-Rounded Research Associates, will felicitate the program, and Dr. Justin Provost, professor in the University of Puerto Rico, will inaugurate the program and deliver the keynote address. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to this entire session. We have participants from all different parts of the country, from various universities, and the group consists of students, research scholars, faculty, postdoctoral fellows, and other academicians. Through this one-month program, what we intend to provide you is a complete know-how of the academic writing from the very beginning of the research process to the publication of research output. So here we will go through all the areas of research, both qualitative and quantitative, how to record the entire process of research, how to manage the references, how to avoid plagiarism, how to prepare an article for publication, and where to publish, etc. For the budding researchers, our aim is to give a complete knowledge of all these from the very basics. We will help you in all possible ways, and our aim is that you must be able to write at least one article and publish it in a good journal in this time, that is within this month. We have a panel of editors in Hindi, Malayalam, and English languages who give you personal assistance in this process. And there are scholars who have already authored many journals. For them, what we intend is to provide a complete awareness on predatory journals and other fraudulent practices in the field of academic writing and academic publications. One of the major problems in our country is in this field is that many great scholars become prey to predatory journals, and their most valuable intellectual output become unnoticed and devalued in the academic arena. So this program is completely for the benefit of the participants. We are ready to help you in all possible ways we can, and I request you all to make maximum benefit of it. So first of all, I welcome all the participants who have become part of this program. The participants, I welcome you all most sincerely. This is a one-month program, and it is not that easy for any institution to conduct such a long program, especially concerning a library where the librarian becomes one-man army. But we take up this program and we go on with it because we have a strong support, and that is none other than our Reverend Principal, Dr. Anitha Jose. She's a great leader who always think and work for the development of our college in her each breath. So without her encouragement and support, this would not have become a reality. Ma'am, I welcome you most cordially to this session. Before moving on, I have to mention one person, that is Mr. Jasuddin, the present librarian of St. Stephen's College, Uravu. He is the mastermind behind all this entire work. The ideas of it, the ideas of it was developed in his mind. He found the best resource persons, set the topics, and arranged everything. He is a great scholar, constant learner, and a famous resource person. He is not present here now, but he will be taking 1 or 2 sessions in the coming days. In his absence, I welcome him also. Mr. Jinto Michael is one of the coordinators who give complete technical support and manages the entire sessions. He has got a good experience in this field of conducting online academic programs, and his firm, Low-Rounded Research Associates, and our library are collaboratively conducting this course. I welcome Jinto Michael and the director, and Ms. Sandhya Sebastian, the MD and CEO of Low-Rounded Research Associates. We have a good panel of experts in all subject areas, and our panel of experts consists of 27 resource persons from around the globe. Besides, we have 5-member panel for editing editing facilitators in 3 languages. I welcome all of them. And the most important person of the day, of the session, Dr. Justin Paul, the professor of MBA and director of research, University of Puerto Rico. He has got years of great experience in the field of research, as well as academic publishing. He himself is the chief editor of one of the leading journals. So we are really honored to have you amidst us today as a keynote speaker. So we'll be inaugurating the entire program as well. So thank you very much for consenting to be with us now. I welcome you most cordially to this session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you very much. Now I invite Madam Principal Dr. Anitha Jose for the presidential address.
Thank you, Father. Good evening, everybody. I know you all are waiting for a wonderful session, a one month long session. So respected Dr. Justin Paul, Mr. Jinto Michael, Mrs. Sandhya Sebastian, Reverend Father Tinju Tom, our enthusiastic librarian, and other dignitaries present in today's inaugural session, and all the participants. We know that true research creates knowledge, and we know that research, if it is to be fruitful, it should be genuine. And so that is the backbone of everything. The genuine, true research is the need of the day. It's my great pleasure in being part of this. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you're audible.
Yes, Father?
Yes, ma'am. You are.
It's my great pleasure in being a part of the beginning of this 30 days international online workshop on academic writing and communication skills, research methodology, then reference management, and academic publishing. This is the second collaboration event of Archbishop Kavukattu Central Library, Assumption College, Autonomous Changanassery, and Librarian Research Associates. We have nearly 30 eminent personalities, nearly 30, 27 plus eminent personalities who are experts in various aspects of research, research writing and publication, the long list of which is evident from the brochure itself. This is indeed going to be a rich treat for the participants. I'm sure you will be flooded with a lot of precious information. We know that such facilities and knowledge parts were not very common till now. Now it is available to us. So my request is that you should be fully aware of this and must be really it's a good opportunity for you all to utilize. I especially congratulate the persons who are really behind the curtains and also thank and appreciate the cooperation and support of Librarian and Research Associates and the team as a whole. Have a great and fruitful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your valuable time and your valuable words. Now I invite Jinto Michael, the Director of Law and Research Associates, for the felicitation.
Thank you, Father. The keynote speaker for today's meeting, dear Professor Dr. Justin Paul, the President of the meeting, Dr. Anitha Jose, Principal of Assumption College, Reverend Father Tinju Tom, Librarian, Archbishop Kavukattu Central Library, the Resource Coordinator, Sri Jasimuddinus, Librarian, St. Stephen's College, Oravu, my fellow coordinators and dear faculty members, research scholars, and postgraduate students from around the world. I'm extremely happy to associate with Assumption College to coordinate a big event like this. As the Reverend Father has mentioned, around 50 or above sessions will be conducted in the next 30 days. And I strongly believe that these sessions will enhance your competence and make you resourceful. And let me introduce to you the keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Justin Paul. Dr. Justin Paul currently serves as the Editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Consumer Studies by Wiley, a global academic journal ranked A by the Australian Business Deans Council, BDC. A former faculty member with the University of Washington, he is now a full professor of the Ph.D. and MBA program offered by the University of Puerto Rico. He serves as an associate editor with European Management Journal and Journal of Strategic Marketing. He holds 2 honorary titles as Distinguished Scholar and Distinguished Professor with IIM Calicut and Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, the premier business schools in South Asia. He is the author, co-author of books such as Business Environment, International Marketing and Service Marketing by McGraw-Hill, Export-Import Management by Oxford University Press, and Management of Banking and Financial Services by Pearson. Dr. Paul introduced the Maastricht model and measure for brand management, and CPP model for internationalization, and SCOPE framework for small firms, and a 7P framework for international marketing. And his articles have been downloaded over 800,000 times during the last 6 years. And he has published over 130 research papers in social science citation index journals and 150 in Scopus. And out of this, over 70 papers are in A or A star journals as per the Australian Business Deans Council list. And he has conducted research development workshops in countries such as Austria, USA, Spain, Croatia, and China. He has been a program director for training diplomats from different countries. And he has been an invited speaker for at several institutions, such as University of Chicago, Vienna University of Commerce and Business, Austria, Fudan and UAB, China, Barcelona, and Madrid, and has published 3 best-selling case studies with Ivy and Hava. Today, Professor will be dealing with the different types of review papers. With pleasure and privilege, I invite Professor Dr. Justin Paul for the keynote address. Professor, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Father Tinju Tom, Principal Dr. Anitha, and Jinto Michael, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate Assumption College for organizing a 1-month-long online symposium. I mean, maybe they can call it as training program. It's not really a symposium because 1 month you can have a symposium. So 1-month training program on developing research capabilities for the researchers, especially the budding researchers, capabilities in researching and publishing. It takes a lot of patience, determination, dedication to write a research paper and publish. I would like to encourage you to do this because of 2 reasons. One is that you have opportunity to establish yourself in the academia. It can be Indian academia or it can be global academia if you publish. If you just do teaching, you don't have an opportunity to establish yourself as a well-known academician, because research will help you. Research set your base for grooming yourself as a well-known professor. My life has reached to a kind of stage where I'm getting 50 emails every day and 20 LinkedIn messages and 20 Facebook messages related to research from different people. I'm not getting time to reply to those messages because people from different regions in the world are sending me emails. Can you give me comments for this paper? Can you give me, I would like to seek your help. I would like to co-author with you. So many emails and messages I'm getting every day these days. And I find I don't know how to respond to that kind of message. I'm having that kind of busy schedule these days. Mainly because of my position as chief editor, because many people think that editors can help them to publish, partly true, partly false, but I can also explain in general the world of research and give you some ideas and give you some strategies and some tips to help you to publish. Since this is a very first session, I think it makes sense to have a general talk about publishing and specific do's and don'ts instead of just focusing on review papers, because review papers is only very subset of research. So it can be a specialized session in your one month program, but this is being very first inaugural session. People will be looking for, especially when I'm serving as editor-in-chief of a global A-rank journal, which currently very few Indians hold that kind of position in business management field. And nobody from Kerala holds that kind of position. So that way, I would be in a position to share my experience as an editor, as a reviewer, as an author, how many papers get rejected, what is the expectation, that kind of information is also very important. I would like to start with an example of what a PhD student wrote to me last week. Last week, a PhD student from a leading business school in Delhi called MDI, with the help of her professor, wrote to me an email that, so they had appointed me as PhD committee member 4 years ago when she started PhD program. And at that time, I was not very busy because I was not chief editor of the journal. And I had supported her and she submitted her PhD thesis, but she did not publish anything. And she was not serious. And I mean, in research, she got married in between, and they have a requirement. These days, many universities all over the world have a requirement of publishing a paper or 1 or 2 papers to get PhD awarded. Some of them don't have that requirement, but some of them do have that requirements all over the world. And she wrote to me that, I would like to seek your help to publish a paper within 6 months. Then I told her, my reply was like this: journals in general follow 2 types of policies. One is that perfection in your paper. 2, exclusiveness. So as a result of these 2 factors, the average acceptance rate in most of the journals, most of the global academic journals, is 5 to 7%. Some of them even have 3 to 5%, or 3 to 7, or 3 to 8. Some of them are a little bit lenient, and they have 10%, or I mean, I'm talking about the A-rank journal acceptance rate. Suppose if you go down to B-rank journals and C-rank journals, maybe the acceptance rate is 15% and something like that, or maybe 20% if you lower down the rate. And the journal publication and that journal publication is also rewarding. In many business schools are paying attractive, handsome remuneration for their faculty to publish. For example, I tell you, IIMs in general, at least 10 IIMs are paying 10 lakh Indian rupees, that is 1 million Indian rupees, if you publish a paper in a journal of stature, like A-rank journal in the Australian list, like the journal that I am the chief editor, International Journal of Consumer Studies, or Journal of Business Research, or any A-rank journal. They are getting bonus, or it's very attractive bonus, 10 lakh Indian rupees. So and some private corporate sponsored business schools like international management institutions, or even government institutions like Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, are also paying very similar attractive scheme in India these days. Sometimes I feel like to go back to India, seeing this kind of things. These are the changes that have taken place in Indian market during the last 10 years. This kind of incentives were not there 10 years ago. And even private institutions like Jaipuri and all are paying 5 lakh Indian rupees to their faculty to publish in this kind of journals. I mean, in case if it's an A-rank journal. Of course, this has to be a single authored article. If you have 2 authors, they get divided by 2 or 3 number of authors, and this kind of thing, but still it is attractive. So a publication also will get you job when you apply for better jobs in better institutions in India or outside. And this is another opportunity. And this is not only in India, even, for example, in France, many French business schools are paying 5,000 euro, 10,000 euro when they publish a paper in well-ranked journals. So this is everywhere. My school pays, but some IIMs are paying very attractive remuneration these days. They did not have anything like this. I was an IIM full-time faculty, but when I was an assistant professor in IIM, there was nothing like this in research, and there was no incentive for research. That was the case 15 years ago, but nowadays there are a lot of incentives for research, and the number of submissions from India has also increased, and a lot of research is taking place in India and China these days. So, and my advice is that suppose if someone is doing PhD, you are supervising with PhD, make sure that you plan in advance for publication, because journals take their own time. Like a PhD student from Delhi who wrote to me, she did not have much information about how long journals will take time. Journals will reject your paper after 2 months. It can take sometimes. Some journals are slow, some journals are fast. I try to manage our journal as the fastest journal, and total number of submission increased from 575 before I took our annual total number of submission was 575. Now it is 2000 plus, and every day we get 6 submissions. So we are operating with 17 associate editors. Associate editors are based in different countries, and papers are assigned to different associate editors. Some of them are fast, some of them are slow, and papers are sent to reviewers, and reviewers, some of them are slow, some of them are fast. There are so many factors. So as a result, sometimes decisions on some manuscripts will come on time. Some of them may not come on time because everybody is busy in their own life, in their own way. So you think that you can publish an article overnight like a newspaper. Journals never do that. So there is scrutiny, normally 3-stage scrutiny: scrutiny by the chief editor, scrutiny by associate editor, scrutiny by the reviewers. So this is time consuming, and some journals are slow, I would like to repeat. So if you want to publish in academic journals, I would suggest that, suppose if you want to publish from your PhD thesis, plan this in advance, because some journals take 6 months time to 1 year time to accept your paper from the date of submission, and some of them reject it. If 10 journals reject your paper, average look at 10, let's say 45 days per journal. So sometimes, the average time to publish a paper from the date of writing a paper to the acceptance, looking at average rejection, let's say you get average 5 to 10 rejections, and then this can take up to 2 years time. So you have to plan in advance. If you think that you can publish in 6 months or 3 months, and then the very first journal will publish, that's kind of that's a very wrong notion. So plan in advance. It's very important, and it is very critical. And in case if a journal A rejects it, submit to journal B very next day. You should not waste time. So you have to be very fast. You have to be very optimistic, and you don't get disappointed at all. So as I said, journal publication in premier journals. Why IIMs are giving 10 lakh Indian rupees is simply because it is not that easy to get a paper accepted in a premier journal. It takes time. That is the reason that much remuneration is given. So you have to take it with due importance and due seriousness, and this is a very important activity these days. And I do have some PowerPoint to share with you. Sure, that I could not help that PhD student who says that she wants to publish within 1 or 2 months. It is impossible. Journals never do that. So journals have to follow the protocols and rules, and it takes time. So yeah, I do have PowerPoint slide, and in general, I would start with talking about do's and don'ts, and I would also like to have more interaction rather than having a one-way talk, because sometimes in webinars, I've delivered 200 webinars during the last 1 year time, and I have received maybe 100 in India and 100 in other countries. And our last 365 days, or if I look at lockdown time and COVID time, every day there is some webinar. So I've been always busy with many webinars as well. And I would say that my experience is that one-way talk is not very effective in webinars. Questions and answers are more effective. So I would talk for next 10-15 minutes, and then we go on for some questions and answers. Then I can again come back to the topic, and then again we can have questions and answers. That would be a better idea, because many people, they turn off the camera and watch TV, just attend the programs for certificate. There are also people like that. So that way, it would be better to have two-way interaction rather than having one-way session. Let me try to share my PowerPoint. Can you see my PowerPoint now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Could you please put that in an animation mode so it will be more clear?
Do this in full. It's only half size now, right? It's not full size now, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. More.
Just press F5.
Mhm.
If you put that in animation mode, it will be more visible, sir.
I'm a little bit confused. Where is the
Bottom end, at the bottom.
There is an icon in the bottom side.
Oh,
Sir, you
Yeah.
can press F5 also, sir.
F5, yeah. Okay. I forgot because I'm using a new laptop today. F5 is not working.
so at the bottom, sir, at the bottom.
Little more right, right,
Ah,
right.
that
Yes,
one.
yes.
That one. Yeah.
That one.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. Now it's okay.
Yeah. I was an author for a long time. And I was an associate editor. I was also a reviewer for many journals for a long time. And as an author, I used to submit papers and I used to get so many rejections. Initially, when I did not know about all these rules of research, I used to get disappointed. But later I realized that you should not get disappointed if you're not getting your paper accepted, because journals, many of them follow exclusiveness policy. They are not only following the merit-based policy, and many reviewers reject it, many editors reject it. Even if they find minor mistake, they reject it. It's a common practice to reject. I have published maybe 150 research papers these days, till date, and to get this 150 papers published, I have received more than 2,000 rejections. So this is corresponding to the journal's average acceptance rate. As I mentioned, the average acceptance rate in most of the business journals is about 5% or 6%. The job is to reject, not to accept the papers. And I took over International Journal of Consumer Studies as an editor-in-chief. Now it is 1.5 years, and 1.5 years, my life changed completely because my life turned out to be very busy life. Like in case if you are a principal of a college or if you're a vice chancellor of a university and all, your life turned out to be very busy immediately. The same thing happened to me after I took over this editor position, because this is a journal with lot of submissions, and it's a 45-year-old journal, very well established journal. Current impact factor is 4, and so we get a lot of submissions in different areas. Even we receive submission from fisheries department to not only business department, food department, fisheries department, nutrition department, all kind of department people are submitting to the journal. Not only business department people are submitting. So that way, our total submissions these days is more than 2,000 in 365 days. That means every day we get about 6 or 7 submissions. Even on Saturday, Sunday, we get 6, 7 submissions. So we have lot of work to do that way. Yeah. So most of the journals prefer theory development papers. Theory is a catchphrase in journals, in academia. And papers that are useful for global audience. This is another point. Most of the journals, like papers that are useful for global audience. Yeah, what we have to keep in mind is that when you live in India or when you live in China, your mindset is Indian, your mindset is Chinese. And many times that get reflected when you write a paper. You start with your introduction about India. That's not a good idea. You start your introduction about your topic. That's a better idea. Because if you start talking about your topic, people from all over the world want to read about the topic. People from all over the world, they are not keen to read about your country or your state. They are least interested to know about your state. Your state doesn't matter for them, but they are interested in knowing about the topic. You better start your introduction focusing on your topic. That's important. So my first part of my session today, I would like to give you some do's and don'ts when you think about or when you prepare a research paper, when you develop a research paper. First point is follow generalized approach. Generalized approach is important. For example, my first point is if a model works in setting A, it should work in setting B. Most of the global academic journals, they look for generalized approach, papers with generalized approach, because their job is to get readers. Their job is to get downloads. People will download papers only if papers are written in such a way that there is generalization. It's important. My next point is provide the reader with the roadmap of how the paper is going to flow. For example, your last paragraph in the introduction section. But you provide a roadmap of how your paper is going to flow. And next point is originality of your study. This is very important from editor's point of view. This is very important from reviewer's point of view too, because many people, they do like recycled studies. They like repetitive studies. Let's say Maria has done a research on this topic, and Bindu will also do the same thing. It's easy for Bindu to imitate Maria. Cloning type of research. But sometimes editors and reviewers will easily find that this is a cloning or this is a duplication, this is a recycled one, so they are not interested. So it is your responsibility as a researcher to highlight the originality of your study in your abstract and introduction. What is original? If you succeed in highlighting the originality of your study, you have an opportunity or you have a potential. If you don't highlight, you do not have an opportunity. This is a reality. Explain uniqueness of your study. Uniqueness of your study is also important. What is unique? Is there something unique in your study? This you have to plan in advance also, because before you start writing a research paper, you have to think yourself, is there something unique in your study? Are you applying your own ideas rather than just borrowing someone's ideas from some other research paper? You need to think about your own ideas and then reveal that in your research paper. Uniqueness. And another suggestion I do have is that better you check plagiarism, similarity before you submit. Because 20% submissions are plagiarized in general. Most of the journals receive about 10 to 20% submission, plagiarized submissions. This is because many people do work with the principle. What is their principle in life? Succeed with shortcut. There is an acronym for that. You know, SWS. SWS stands for succeed with shortcut. Shortcut-based success. So they copy many paragraphs from some study and then they add some paragraph their own, and so that kind of submissions are not considered as ethical and they will be rejected. So do a plagiarism check before you submit your paper. It's also very important. And another tip which I have suggested is submit to a journal from where you have references and citations. And if you don't have references or citations from a journal, I suggest that you add at least 1 or 2 references, especially recent references from the target journal. You should have at least 1 recent reference from the target journal to show that your paper is relevant to the journal from where you are submitting. It's important. Otherwise, they would say that your paper is not relevant for that journal. You can use your keyword to search related papers on the target journal website and submit to that target journal. I mean, you know, so you get similar papers from the target journal and cite 1 or 2 similar papers from the target journal before you submit. This will increase the possibility of your submission. I mean, acceptance possibility. Next point, do robustness checks such as multicollinearity in time series studies, common method bias in cross-section studies. These are called robustness checks because mere data analysis will not work. So you need to do robustness checks these days. And next point is get it English edited and proofread by someone else. This is also important. For example, why do I recommend this? Otherwise, it will look ugly, it will look dirty. I know that your English is good enough, but at the same time, sometimes you're so tired when you write a paper. So a third-party person checking your English is very important. You know, I can tell you an example, I can compare with the real-life example. If you go to a hospital, doctors have nurses to help. Same theory needs to be applied here. If you are a professor or assistant professor, you need an assistant to help if you want to do research. And this is called research assistant or teaching assistant in many universities. Like, for example, I do have an assistant given by my university. And if you don't have, get it English edited and proofread by someone who is doing this freelance English editing. It can be your own student, it can be former student, it can be some housewife who does not have any job. It can be, you know, anybody like that who can do this for 5,000 rupees. And many people are happy to do, those who have free time. If you are a busy professor, you don't have much free time. So employ someone who has free time for this job and let them do the English editing and proofreading before you submit. It is very important. And next point is, if you are writing an empirical paper, derive hypotheses. And if you are writing a qualitative paper based on interview, derive research questions. If you are writing a conceptual paper, derive theoretical or testable propositions. It's also important. Empirical paper without hypothesis will not get accepted in a premier journal. Qualitative paper without research questions will not get accepted in a premier journal. And if you have a conceptual paper, you need to have propositions. Next point, focus on findings of prior studies. Findings of prior studies, similar studies need to be compiled and synthesized in the form of a table. And try to corroborate, contrast your findings with their findings in the discussion section. This is also important. Because that is what is research. Research means you have to corroborate or contrast your findings with the findings of similar studies, if there are similar studies. If there is no other similar study, if your study is 100% novel, new and unique and original, you don't have to do this. But if your study is not 100% new, original and unique, you have to do this. You can do this in discussion section. You can do this with the help of a table too. And if you get revision, that's the point on top, revision. A research paper normally gets accepted after 2 rounds of revisions, sometimes 3 rounds of revisions. So if you get revision, you get comments from reviewers and editor. Implement those comments very sincerely and strictly. It's very important. And if you try to defend, reviewers will not like it because reviewers have their own ego. And they will say that you have not done what I asked you. Why did I spend my time to read and give you comments? So don't defend if you get revision. Implement the maximum possible comments. Treat reviewers like your parents. Normally you respect your parents. Try to, even if you don't like review comment, try to respect reviewer comments. It is important. Otherwise, your paper will get rejected after revision. I have received rejection of my paper after revision because if you defend any comment, some reviewers don't like it. And next point is select a topic with newness and novelty and avoid recycled topics. This is also important. Focus on conceptual, analytical, and presentation dimensions. Yeah, sometimes topic with newness and novelty. Like, for example, in my search for new topics with novelty, I developed a mass teach model. It's a brand's prestige, brand's mass prestige model, a scale, and a theory called mass teach theory. This was the output of my own search for newness and novelty. Focus on conceptual, analytical, and presentation dimensions. This is also important. Any research paper that you write, there has to be contribution. There has to be conceptual contribution. There has to be analytical contribution. There has to be presentation. Presentation dimensions means perfection in terms of presentation. These are very important. What is the takeaway? What is the takeaway from your research paper? You have to think yourself. That is why always editors recommend authors that they should give their papers to their friends and colleagues to read and give comments and revise before they submit to a journal. When you write a paper, make sure that you share the paper with your close friend, 1 or 2 friends, and let them help you to read and give you comments. Otherwise, if you have a co-author has to involve and read and revise the paper. It is important so that you can have contribution, conceptual contribution. That means advancing theory, advancing concept development, advancing concept, analytical contribution, and presentation wise, it should be perfect. Yeah. And some other suggestions, some other don'ts. What you should not do when you write a paper. Don't cite from regional, local, national journals if you want to submit to a global journal. Your reference list should be based on global journals only. Avoid citations from websites if possible. Don't cite too many papers from websites. This does not create good impression. Don't include country or state name in title because you need generalized title. Yeah, your title should be generalized, preferably short. Because if you include your country or state name in title, that is okay when you submit to a national journal. Or that is okay when you submit to a regional journal. But that is not really okay when you submit to a truly global journal. And this the country title may be okay if you submit to an emerging market journal also, because that is a regional thing. But global journal, they want country neutral papers in title. At least in title, don't talk about your country name or state name in title if you want to submit to a premier global journal. And another point is that there is no need to spend a lot of time for changing format, reference format these days. If journal A rejects your paper, because these days journals have a lenient free format policy. 80% of the journals consider free format reference submission. So no need to spend all your time to change reference format. I tell you my own example. When I completed my PhD, I got irritated with this reference format because it used to take a lot of time. It was not easy to do this reference formatting. So I got irritated with all this research process, seeing this reference formatting. And I thought about why I'm in academia to do this reference formatting. A lot of time is spent as a clerk to do research. I was disappointed. But nowadays I realized that you don't need to do that. You have Google Scholar, you have EndNote, you have referencing software. Maybe you have class on referencing software. But you don't have to even change reference format for different journals these days, because 80% of journals permit you to submit with whatever style reference that you have. It can be APA or MLA, Harvard, or whatever style. And another suggestion is that try to look at the slow journals and fast journals. And don't submit to slow journals. For example, leading publishing companies like Elsevier and Wiley, they have a journal finder software on their websites. And if you type your paper title and abstract, you can and search. Their software, journal finder software, will generate names of different journals with average time that they have taken for processing papers. This is the reality. So that will help you very much. But this facility is only given by leading publishing companies like Elsevier or Wiley. And Springer advertises the average processing time for their different journal on their respective journal website. This is also useful. And my suggestion is that never submit to InterScience journals, because InterScience journal is a very commercialized publishing company with 5,000 journals, and they publish maximum papers, but they don't have time to publish after acceptance. After acceptance, they take 1 year time to publish. That is what is InterScience journals. But Elsevier, Wiley, Springer and all, Taylor and Francis is also good. So they take only 1 week or 2 weeks to publish after acceptance. Emerald still take 2 months or 4 or 6 weeks or 8 weeks to publish after acceptance. But Elsevier, Wiley, Springer and Taylor and Francis and Sage, they are good. They're on time. Yeah. Yeah. And I would like to stop sharing my screen now, and I would prefer to give you time for some questions and answers, and then we will see how it goes. And depending upon that, I can answer, and in case if required, I can also talk about review papers after that. Yeah.
Participants may unmute and ask your questions.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, so I just wanted a little more elaboration on conceptual analytic dimensions that you are mentioning. If you could just give with an example.
Yeah. Any research paper, regardless of your subject, whether it is marketing or finance or whatever, there has to be a conceptual contribution. Conceptual contribution simply means, you are dealing with a particular concept. And what is the generalized takeaway from your paper? For example, you're talking about you're doing research on customer engagement. Customer engagement is a construct. Or you're doing research on customer relationship management. That's another construct. So how do you advance this concept? What is your contribution to advance this concept? So that has to come out. That is the takeaway from your research paper. There has to be conceptual contribution. For example, I told you I developed MASTI's theory. MASTI stands for mass prestige. I developed MASTI scale. So they are all my contribution, original contribution. I developed MASTI's model, and this is for MASTI's model is to build a prestigious brand. The basic research question in those papers are how to build a prestigious brand from an unknown brand. So that's a basic research question. And centered around that research question, I developed a model to show to the rest of the world that this is how you can create a prestigious brand, or this is how you can try to develop a brand, ordinary brand as a prestigious brand. MASTI stands for mass prestige. Brands mass prestige in the mass markets. So likewise, what is the conceptual contribution from your paper? I have another paper titled 7P Framework for International Marketing. And what I have done in that paper is I developed 7P constructs. And these 7P constructs are, and I showed that if a company follows these concepts, they can achieve success in the foreign market. And I developed an equation. Equation is performance is a function of path, process, potential, processes, and 6 P's on right hand side and left hand side, LHSP is performance. So that is my own contribution. That is the conceptual contribution. That can be called as conceptual contribution or theoretical contribution also. So there has to be something that has to be there as your contribution, with contributing towards a conceptual or theory development, generalized intake from your research paper. Your research paper can be based on data from India, but there has to be generalized contribution for the rest of the world also. That is what is conceptual contribution.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, sir. May I ask the question?
Yes.
So this is Dr. Radha Vyas from Gujarat, India. So my question is regarding SLR paper and meta-analysis. I heard that many times when we start writing some systematic literature review paper, so definitely it requires some time, might be 4 to 6 months or something like that. So is it that we need to register our topic with the editor? Because meanwhile, if somebody else comes with such kind of SLR paper or meta-analysis, then definitely my work is going to be wastage. So how to do this kind of research? Can you provide some guidance, sir?
No, you have to, first thing you have to look at is that if there is any other recent SLR or meta-analysis on the same topic. If there is any other SLR or meta-analysis on the same topic, then you should not venture into that. So, but if there is no other SLR or meta-analysis on the same topic and no other work in the recent times, then you can venture into that. You don't have to register with the editor and all. Even if you register with the editor, if the paper is not coming out to be good, that is not going to work. So because as I said, most of the journals have three-stage process in selecting papers. One is screening by chief editor, then screening by associate editor, and screening by reviewers. So normally a paper gets accepted only if a paper passes these three screening. That's a normal process in almost all the journals of international reputes, because they have a three-stage process. So it is not the chief editor who decide, because chief editors are very busy. Chief editors are like chief ministers, and associate editors like ministers, and reviewers are like parliament members or MLAs. And paper get accepted only after going through these three hands. So it is not one person's business. It's because but there are some specialized subject-based journal where there is only one chief editor is handling everything. But that is only very, very domain-specific, very specialized journals. If a journal has only chief editor, but none of the broad-based journals, none of the journals with broad base that consider articles on different functional areas have one chief editor. So, like for example, our journal, International Journal of Consumer Studies, we consider papers ranging from subject to brand management to information technology to services marketing to even we consider papers on consumer economics and consumer finance. So we need to have associate editor with expertise in different areas. So this is how it works, because no one person can be expert in all areas. So it has to be passed to respective associate editors. And like, for example, another journal of business research, they have 65 associate editors, because Journal of Business Research is an interdisciplinary journal. They consider papers in all areas, including human resource management, strategic management, information technology, innovation, everything. So they have associate editors. I'm one of the associate editors. So they have 65 associate editors. That's how it works. Our journal has 17 associate editors, because we are only considering consumer studies and marketing primarily, but with some interdisciplinary papers are also submitted. So, but that's why we can manage with 17 associate editors. So this is how it works. So there is no point in registering with one editor. It is not going to work that way. I don't think so. But in case sometimes it works with, as I said, some journal editors, if they are, for example, you have only brand specific paper. Let's say you identify there are 2 journals which publish only brand based papers. So then they may be okay to consider. They are not very busy because they don't get hundreds of submissions, because they only get submission from brand. But if a journal is broad based, those journal editors are very so it's impossible for editors of those kind of broad-based journals to find time for screening anything before submission. We do not screen anything before submission. We only consider submissions after formal submissions, for example, because otherwise it's a broad-based journal. We get a lot of submission. We don't have time to consider anything by email.
Good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, this is Srividya from Andhra Pradesh. I am an assistant professor of English. I am just a budding researcher, sir. I don't know where to start, and I have an idea that my research area is feminism. How to search in the journals about the resources and how to work it on, sir. I need a baseline. I am just budding.
Yeah, I mean, so you have 1 month workshop, and everybody will have their own ideas to give you, and I'm sure you will be benefited. And feminism or such areas are also good. So they are more interdisciplinary, because sociology people does research in that area, social work people do research in that area, some economics people also do research in feminism. So it's more interdisciplinary. Some political science people also do it. So you have to identify the best journals, and
okay, sir.
Best journals can be identified based on impact factor also. There are also country rankings, and you should keep you should have a list of best journals where you can target to submit your papers. That is the first step.
Hello. Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Am I audible? Okay, sir. My question is, there are a number of clone journals and tertiary journals. The biggest challenge is how to identify them.
Yeah, this is not something that you should ask me to answer, because it is very easy. For example, you are a business researcher. You can download Australian Business Deans Council journal list. It is available online. It is available on my ResearchGate also. If you search Justin Paul on ResearchGate, you will get my profile. You can download it from my ResearchGate, or you can request me on ResearchGate also. And there is a UK list called the UK Association of Business School list. These are lists about 2000 business and economics journals. And you have to download this and keep it with you like a Bible and Gita. So these are readily available, and you should submit only to these 2000 journals. Predatory journals are not included in this Australian list or UK list. So they have only included reliable journals, and this is a lot of journals are included in that list. You should only use that list. You use that. Okay.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I would like to make a review article on stress management. What are the best search engines which you suggest for collecting the databases for a review on the stress?
Yeah, review articles, I would suggest that, of course, you can start with Web of Science or Scopus, but sometimes Web of Science and Scopus will give you a lot of articles. If you get a lot of articles, you have to shortlist. So the best way I would recommend is that you decide your journal selection criteria. For example, you can decide journal selection criteria, journals with 2+ impact factor, or journals with the A and A star in ABDC list. Something like that you decide. And then you source article, use the keyword, decide keywords for your topics, 5 keywords or 3 keywords or whatever number of keywords. And search on the respective journal websites. For example, you identified 15 journals or 20 journals to source articles using some criteria. And better, you can do it on Scopus also, but when you do it on Scopus, sometimes you get articles from unknown journals because there are so many unknown journals on Scopus. So you will get hundreds of articles if you do it on Scopus. But if you do search only on the journal website, let's say you identify 15 journals or 20 journals, source or search on the respective journal, each and every 15 or 20 journals you identified, and search using the keywords on the respective journal website, you will get all the relevant articles. And you have to decide the time period. It can be 20 years, or it can be 25 years, it can be 50 years. Yeah, so the best strategy is to identify 15, 20 journals using some criteria and source on the journal website. That is the best criteria to source articles for a review paper.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
This is Rohit from Bangalore. I'm assistant professor in physics. So I have put up one point regarding that derived hypothesis in an empirical paper. Can you please elaborate on that, sir?
Yes. In an empirical paper, you should have hypotheses, because that's very important. Because hypotheses are they serve as the bone or backbone of your paper. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise your paper will look like a handicap paper. So it is important to derive hypotheses in an empirical paper. It is important.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So should we add research questions in an empirical more type of research paper also?
Research questions can be added in the empirical papers also. It is perfectly fine. And but in qualitative paper, it is almost mandatory, because you can create rigor in qualitative paper only if you have research questions. Normally editors and reviewers do not find rigor in qualitative papers, but if you add research question, at least 10% they will feel that there is some rigor.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Tony. I'm from Bangalore. Can you explain what is impact factor and what is the relevance of in selecting a journal?
Impact factor is the journal's performance score, and every journal advertises impact factor on the journal website, and take a look at each and every journal website to see what is their impact factor. Any journal with 2+ impact factor is a good journal, and impact factor is the score generated based on the number of citations a journal receives for their articles published during the recent years.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have done my study on complaint management in banks, and you said we have to generalize it in global level. I have done in Indian perspective. So how can I do that when I am writing a paper?
As I said, don't, so your paper can be based on Indian data, but in the introduction, in the discussion and all, you have to focus on your topic. You talk about India only in your methodology or only in one sentence in the introduction. Don't talk too much about India everywhere. I mean, it is okay to talk too much about India if you want to submit to an Asian journal, but if you want to submit to a truly global journal, if you talk too much about India, then they may not be interested if they have intelligence. Some of them don't have intelligence, but if they are intelligent, they will not be keen if you write India everywhere. Okay, because they are for global audience, not only for Indian audience.
And if it is a secondary database, sir, if it is a secondary database.
Yeah, whatever secondary or primary, for example, I told you, you start with your topic in the introduction rather than talking about your country in the introduction. Talk about your country, minimize the information about your country and maximize information about your topic. Okay. And I have another PowerPoint. I will show that, and I have some 5 minutes for special issues, and then I can take up some questions. I would also appreciate that, so you open up your camera when you ask questions, so that otherwise I feel like I'm talking to ghost. Okay. So let me share another screen. So where are we now? Okay. I'm going to share another PowerPoint. Share screen. Okay. Okay, since you asked me to talk about review articles, I have a review article stuff. Before that, I just would like to spend 3 minutes on some special issues that I am editing this year in case if anybody wants to submit a paper. Yeah, and this is my email ID in case if you have an important question or important thing to share or important collaboration, send me an email. It's perfectly fine, but sometimes I may be slow when I get a lot of emails. So, but sometimes I may be fast also. It's profjust@gmail.com, and I also have a Facebook page where I post some tips for research time to time, some special issue calls. You can also follow me on Twitter. My Twitter, Skype, and Facebook, everything is drjustinpaul. Twitter.com/drjustinpaul, Facebook.com/drjustinpaul, and Skype is also the same. And also Twitter and Facebook is the same thing. And I have YouTube channel where you can find a lot of videos and a lot of my lectures also available on YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/drjustinpaul. So don't forget to subscribe in case if you like to get such videos relating to research and teaching. Yeah, some special issues I'm editing this year. One is annual special issue for literature review article for International Journal of Consumer Studies. Submission time is between 15 May to 15 September. 15 September is the deadline. And for this special issue, we welcome different type of review articles, and we have 4 editors are editing the special issue. Myself, Bernadette Colts from France, and Rodula and Sandra. So we are 4 editors for this special issue. So 15th September is the deadline. In case if you have any systematic literature review relating to consumer studies, you can submit before 15 September for this special issue if you are interested in this. And Yeah, we have another special issue on theory development in consumer studies, and this is theory development, like what we talk about conceptual theory development. And this is a special issue for International Journal of Consumer Studies, and this submission period is 15 April.
He's talking about consumer studies and all, which are not written.
Yeah, here deadline is 15 September. If you can develop a theory development paper. Examples are given. Look at the journal website, International Journal of Consumer Studies website for detailed code for papers. Submission is already open, and International Journal of Consumer Studies is a very fast-track journal, and we try to process papers on time compared to several other journals. And this is a theory development special issue. Editors Russell Bulk, myself, Lim, and Carmen Valor. I am also editing another special issue for Psychology and Marketing Journal. And this special issue deadline is 1st October. Yeah, so submission window is already open. And we have 3 editors for this, myself, Atul Parvatiar from Texas Tech, and Bernadette from France. Yeah, so this is titled The Developing Psychological Theories for Research in Marketing. So yeah. These are special issues, and yeah, so this is my details, like as I mentioned, my YouTube link, youtube.com/drdestinedpaul for useful videos, and for many updates, I keep updating on my Facebook page, facebook.com/drdestinedpaul. If you like to follow, you can just click like, and then you get automatic updates automatically on Facebook. So, and now I'm going to talk about review articles, different type of review articles for next 15 minutes, and then I can take up some questions from you. Yeah, last 2 years I've been serving as editor in charge of review articles for Journal of Business Research, and we had 2 special issues for literature review articles. First one, annual special issue was, first one was last year, second one was this year. And yeah, so I'm going to discuss different types of review articles and classify them as 7 types of review articles. We have also launched an annual special issue for literature review article for International Journal of Consumer Studies. Every year we will have this. Importance of review article: a subject advances when studies are designed in a way that adds value based on the findings of prior studies. That is the importance of classic literature review. And if you write a classic literature review, you have chances of getting good number of downloads and citations too. The purpose of a review article. The purpose of a review article is to provide new ideas and directions in order to guide future researchers to undertake novel ideas, novel research, instead of doing recycled type of research, because many people do recycled type of research. And topic selection for review article. As I mentioned earlier, select a topic for review based on whether there is another review published on the same topic in the recent years. Look at this on Google Scholar before you decide. Editors and reviewers do not want to consider reviews on topics when there is another comprehensive review that is already available. This is the stumbling block when you write a review article. For example, social entrepreneurship. There are 6 other reviews. There is no scope for writing another review on social entrepreneurship. Service recovery. There is a review. So there is not much scope for writing another review on service recovery. International franchising. There are 2 reviews, 2 recent reviews, classic reviews. One is written by me, another one is written by Ilan Alan. So there's not much scope for writing another review on international franchising. Journal selection criteria for systematic literature review articles. Usually people select journals, or they use the journal selection criteria. Some of them use Web of Science, some of them use Web of Science /SSCI. I mentioned some of them use journals, some of them select journals. based on impact factor. Some of them use criteria like impact factor 1 plus above, some of them use impact factor 2 plus above, and so on. And some of them use, some researchers use ABS 2. ABS is the UK list. UK ABS 2 and above, that is the general rank. Some of them use ABDCB and above. So some of them use ABDC and A star. Some researchers use the NDS corpus as their base. Article search criteria, your keywords in title, abstract, or keywords. Yeah. So you have to also make sure that you include all the relevant articles and excludes irrelevant articles. It's also important. And 2 years ago, I served as editor of International Business Review Special Issue for Literature Review articles, and we received 72 submissions. 20 did not have general section criteria because the researchers were not having proper training in review articles. And some of the reference list also included books and local journals. And ideally, review articles should have a short title, your theme, your topic, and then highlight a review and research agenda or review and future research agenda. Because a review article should also have substantial portion developing future research agenda. It's also important. That is the goal of a review article. Because if you are not in a position to develop future research agenda on a review topic, you should not write a review article. Because the goal of a review article is to identify research gaps in an area and develop future research agenda based on research gaps. Sample size and time period, at least 50 articles to be reviewed. It could be 50 to 500 depending upon the number of years that you cover. Time period of publication, minimum 10 years to maximum 50 years. And findings, focus on findings of prior studies, it's also important. Yeah, and research gaps and directions for future research. Ideally, you should identify research gaps based on widely used theories, methods, constructs, and variables and context. For example, theory of plant behavior is widely used in some specific area. In that case, you should direct future researchers not to use theory of plant behavior because it is already recycled. It is already used hundreds of times, thousands of times. No point in using theory of plant behavior. So that kind of identification of research gap and future research direction should be provided that way. Yeah, future at least 20% of the weightage in a systematic literature review should be for providing directions for future research with reference to theories, methods, constructs, and context. Context can be industry context, country context, and so on. There are different types of literature review articles. I classify here structured review article. Structured review article is a review article that is based on structured tables, useful, many structured tables, maybe around 7 to 10 structured tables. For example, this article on international franchising published in Journal of Business Research. We have 10 tables in this, and it is one of the most cited paper from Journal of Business Research within 3 years. So you structure the review paper with the useful scientific tables based on what theories are studied, what methods are studied, what constructs are used, and so on. Other framework. This is the next one is framework-based review. This is type 2 review article. You have to use a framework. It can be established framework, or you can develop your own framework and structure review article using this framework. There are some frameworks like Callahan developed W framework to develop a review article, and Lynn, Reddy, and CA used Callahan's review framework to write a review and publish in Journal of World Business. Myself and Benito, we developed ADO framework. ADO stands for Antecedent Decisions and Outcome Framework to develop a review article. And most of the topics can be developed, a review article can be developed using ADO framework because most of the articles in a specific topic area covers antecedents and outcomes. TCCM framework, TCCM covers theories, theories, characteristics, and constructs and methods. You can develop a review using TCCM framework, which means you have to explore what theories are used in prior studies, what are the characteristics of prior studies, and what are the context and constructs and context in prior studies, and what are the methods in prior studies. That is what is TCCM framework. The entire review can be written using TCCM framework. And next type of review article is theory-based review. Theory-based review. For example, some specific theories are applied in a field, and you look at this, for example, role of self-determination theory in marketing science. This was published in European Management Journal. And self-determination theory, how it has been applied in marketing science. And another topic for theory-based reviews, institutional theories, international business, theory of planned behavior in entrepreneurship, agency theory in franchising research. So you look at the application of a specific theory in a specific field. That is what is called theory-based review. Type 4, SLR narrative type. Narrative type is also called as plain vanilla review. And this refers to, like, this is one example is that here, how it is different from structured review, that you don't have many structured scientific tables. Here you will have only 2 tables, 3 tables, 4 tables. You don't have 10 structured tables here. So it looks more descriptive, looks more narrative. It can be also called as plain vanilla review because it's a descriptive write-up like a newspaper article. Bibliometric review. This is another type of review. Bibliometric review captures citations, more cited authors, and those kind of things. And this type of review can be developed using software like VOSviewer. VOSviewer stands for Visualization of Similarities. And very top journals normally don't consider bibliometric review, but some journals consider. For example, Journal of Product Innovation Management has published a bibliometric review on open innovation. And VOSviewer software generates nice figures which you have to score in presentation dimension, but journals, those who focus on theory, they don't consider bibliometric review. Limitation of bibliometric review is that bibliometric review does not include analysis of widely used methods. Bibliometric review does not include analysis of constructs and variables. This is the limitation of bibliometric review because bibliometric softwares do not capture those kind of things. Meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is another type of review article, but here you only include empirical papers that test a specific relationship on a specific topic. And then you use one of the meta-analysis softwares and you carry out a meta-analysis review using the effect size relationship. For example, one classic example is the effectiveness of celebrity endorsement, a meta-analysis by Knoll and Mathis. Determinants of co-branding, that is published in IJCS, International Journal of Consumer Studies. Another meta-analysis on customer engagement is also published in IJCS. So softwares available for conducting meta-analysis is Data, Israel, Metaphor, Meta Essential, Meta Excel, and so on. Yeah. Type 7 review article is review with theoretical or testable propositions. Yeah, so here The primary purpose of a literature review is to contribute towards theory development or contribute towards testable propositions. For example, I developed a review article to develop a theoretical model called 7P framework for 7P framework. And this article is titled as Towards 7P Framework for International Marketing. I developed this with Eric Maas from University of North Texas. Now he's joining in Indiana University in Indiana in the US. So this is purely conceptual, purely theoretical, and you articulate your ideas and try to develop a theory or concept or construct based on literature. This is what the goal of this type of review article. Review focusing on theory development. There are two journals publishing only this type of reviews. One is called Academy of Management Review. Another one is called AMS Review. AMS stands for Academy of Marketing Science. They publish only this type of review article. This type of review article ideally should have proposition, theoretical testable propositions. And these propositions can be used by future researchers, other researchers as hypotheses in their studies. Yeah, now it is time for you to ask some questions in case if we have questions. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes. Please try to open your camera so that
yes, sir.
Post.
Just a minute, sir. Yeah. Can you see me, sir?
Yes.
Am I audible properly, sir?
Yes. Don't ask you are audible or not. Just ask question.
Okay. Sorry, sir. Sir, my question is regarding your call for paper for this journal of consumer studies, international journal. As you said that there is a possibility of publication. So my question is regarding all these 7 types of review. Are you accepting for this journal or some specific requirement?
Yes, provided a paper is high quality.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
So, Abhijit, I have a question regarding, do you have a checklist or a criteria that you use at your journal to, accept or reject the paper that is submitted to your journal?
We have 3-stage criteria. Desk rejection by chief editor, and approximately 25% submissions are rejected by me in our journal. And then if it passes my desk rejection, then it goes to associate editor with subject expertise. Then if she or he finds some problems, they can also desk reject it. So approximately 25% papers, another 25% papers are desk rejected by an associate editor. Then it goes to reviewers, and 50% papers goes to reviewers, and then reviewers can also reject the paper. Sometimes I handle papers directly, and I find reviewers in case if a paper is submitted on very similar topics, on a very much related to any of my previous papers. Sometimes I don't give it to an associate editor. So, for example, a paper on masstige marketing. So that's my main area for last 7 years. So I have more knowledge in that area rather than any other associate editor. So I would handle a paper on that topic. But in case if a paper is related to some other associate editor's expertise, I don't handle that paper. I give it to an associate editor. This is the case in most of the journals also.
Thank you so much.
Sir, this is Chandrasekhar from IIT Madras. I have a question with regard to the earlier session that we have taken. This question is that in one of your don'ts, you said that one of your do's, you said that you should follow the comments given by the reviewers. But in contrary to it, I have encountered a teacher of mine a few months back who had told me that her paper is being rejected. He's being, asked to draft 15 times with the same reason. But the thing she has told me that is that, she's the one who has done the research on a specific area. Like she's an expert in Northeastern societies. So she's telling me that, you know, that if without that the study would incomplete. So what do we have to do in such circumstances?
I mean, your question is somewhat clear, somewhat vague. So, yeah, so I mean, the overall what a journal editor or journal associate is expecting theoretical contribution. What is the generalized contribution for the maximum readers across the countries? It should serve the purpose of readers from different countries rather than it is going to be useful for readers from one country. That is the purpose. So that is one of the reasons. Suppose in case if you focus too much on a specific context, let's say if you focus too much on Tamil Nadu or Kerala and submit to a truly global journal, it's a fundamental question how it is useful for the global audience, because these are global journals. You know, editor may be coming from one country. That doesn't mean that you can accept papers focusing too much on one region or one state in a country. It has to be for global audience.
But these things would be necessary if you're doing an area specific studies, right? Because the culture that you see in Northeast would be entirely different from the culture that you see in other parts of India. So, and moreover, that's a specific domain specific journal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you should ideally focus on your topic rather than focusing on your context too much. I mean, highlight your topic and don't highlight your regional context too much.
So do you accept the papers on stress management? What stress management?
I mean, stress management, ours is a consumer studies journal. Suppose if it is a consumer stress, we can consider. If it's not a consumer stress, we cannot consider.
What's the what stress? Employee stress.
Employee stress we cannot consider because our journal is a consumer studies journal.
Sir, in the review papers, do we need to mention what type of review in the title?
No.
Just a review is enough, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, good evening, sir. Sir, do you accept any healthcare management related reviews, sir, in your journal?
Yeah, I mean, healthcare, if you have a overall consumer outlook, I mean, our journal is a consumer journal, so it should be linked to consumers. If it is linked to consumers, we can consider.
Like patient population and all in hospitals, do you treat them as
that's what I'm saying. So patient is a consumer. So
yes, sir.
If the article is focused on patients, we can consider, because if article is focused on doctors, we cannot consider.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, it looks like we have completed the process, and I would like to thank you very much for this invitation, and I wish you all the best, and you can stay in touch with me by email or subscribing to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/drjustinpaul, or send me, or you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can send me an invitation on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was really an erudite session. It was rich with practical suggestions in publishing articles in premier journals. Each point you mentioned were very valuable in this regard. And as participants themselves have pointed out in the chat box, you answered all the questions raised by the participants with practical applications, and each point was clearly explained with suitable examples. So it was a very fruitful session. There is no doubt about that. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us, sir. On behalf of all the participants, I would like to express our sincere thanks to you. I also thank the participants for your active participation by asking questions and attentively being there in this entire session. More information regarding the future sessions will be given in the WhatsApp groups so that you can ask. There were certain questions in the chat box. We couldn't raise them due to the lack of time and all. We have copied all those questions, and we will try to answer and provide you in a single file, and will make it available to you in either in the WhatsApp group or throughout some other methods. So don't worry about that. And if you have any query or suggestions, you are very free to ask us either through the WhatsApp group or through email, etc. Thank you once again. Thank you very much to you all. Jasim sir, anything to add?
Okay, thank you, Father, for the talk, for the Tinju Tom. Thank you. Okay, I can leave now, right?
Welcome, sir. Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.